I recently done a video showing Billy Carson talking about who the mother goddess of the first humans was, and he said it was Isis, and I said no, it wasn't. So I've just found another video where he actually explains why he thinks that Isis, the female Egyptian person, was the person. So let's just have a listen and I'll break it down, and maybe I'll try and help Billy out because I think he's got it wrong.
An Egyptian, Sumerian, and she's holding up a baby, and she's...
So first of all, he says Isis was Sumerian. There's no record of Isis back then in Sumerian. I don't know where he got that from, but... And also have a look here, the elongated skull. That's important in a second.
It says the first Adamu, which means first man. My hands have created it.
So he's saying there's texts in the British Museum along with that carving saying that Isis has created the first human. Now, I don't know about you, I don't know about Billy, I don't have an elongated skull. Now, we do know that there was elongated skulls in Egypt, not many. In fact, it was the lineage of Nefertiti and Akhenaten and Tutankhamun and his parents and their grandparents, etc. So we know that the elongated skull did come into existence way nearer to our time than 200,000 to 300,000 years ago, which is when the first Homo sapiens would have been created. So we've got a bit of a discrepancy there. So Isis, the first mentions of Isis was around this time here, again, not 300,000 years ago, but only 2,350,000 years ago. So we're talking a humongous difference for the first time that she was mentioned. And of course, when she was first mentioned, there was already humans here. So there now seems to be a bit more of a discrepancy. And of course, when you actually look at Isis's lineage, Ra, which would have been Marduk, the sun god, in Egyptian times, and then he had some children, and they had some children, and then eventually we get down to Isis. So that would have been Marduk. Now, Marduk actually married a human woman, or Ra did. And she was a scribe. That's all written. So how did Isis create the first human when Marduk married the first, married a human person? That also doesn't make sense. And also here we've got actual translations from the Sumerian, not from Egyptian, because obviously he's gone by the Egyptian, where literally it says Nimna. There's loads and loads of these translations of different texts, but basically the Earth Mother Goddess, and they're talking about here how they will mix the clay, etc., create the first human. So that doesn't say Isis, that says Nimna, which was also known as Ninharsag and also known as Nintu. So I think where Billy's going wrong is, yes, there was a genetic creation done in Egyptian times with that child with the elongated skull, and that more than likely was what Isis was referring to, saying that she's created a first creature, but it's not the direct Homo sapien. It may be another Adamu, technically Adamu, A-D-A-M-U. I don't know whether that's Google or YouTube translating that wrong, but either way, I don't have an elongated skull, and hopefully you don't, but the ones that did were nearer to us than 300,000 years ago when the first Homo sapiens came. Adam and Eve grew up on a spaceship for 24 years. Yes, I've done it again. Another amazing documentary that's just been released literally 2 seconds ago. It's 20 minutes long. It's part 2 of the Adam and Eve Garden of Eden story. If you know anything about my research, you know I'm pretty darn good. And on my Patreon page, I have so many more other things, like the crystal skulls I prove that we've been lied to. The list just goes on my Patreon page, patreon.com/outrohistory. And these are long documentaries, as I say. Some of them are split into different parts, and that's 15 minutes. So the whole of that one's nearly an hour long, just to do with the crystal skulls. So if you're interested in finding out really who was Adam and Eve and what they were doing and why there was 2 gardens and 2 trees, yes, 2 trees that they're referring to. It's all in the video. Enjoy. Adam and Eve. Is this person here with no beard Adam? That's Ningazida showing this person with no beard to King Anu on Nibiru. So is this Adam? Now, if it is, it means he's the same height as these Anunnaki, which were 8 to 12 foot tall. And we know all of this because we've got the actual text. So not just that cylinder seal we just saw there, but here King Anu sends him back. Look, take him and bring him back to his earth. The whole thing there is about Adam not eating food that was offered to him by King Anu. So we've now got possibly the description, because normally Anunnakis have beards, and obviously we know that he was led to King Anu from the ancient text that I just showed you. So is this the first, not the first human, but the first half-bred? As you may know, I have a Patreon page which has over 100 documentaries, long documentaries on all sorts of things, from spirits, crystal skulls, and I break them down properly and I show you where mainstream lie, etc. And the most recent one I've just done is part 1. Part 2 will be out next week. Is Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve. And yes, I break down exactly where I believe Adam and Eve were in the Garden of Eden, where Garden of Eden was, and who Adam and Eve was. So let's just have a look at part of this video that I've done that you can go watch on my Patreon page.
To wrong. This researcher is called Billy Carson.
The Garden of Eden was a laboratory, an outdoor laboratory.
He does continue, but let's break his comments down one at a time. He says the Garden of Eden was a laboratory. I'm guessing his logic behind this is because when the first humans were created by the Anunnaki, they would have been made in a laboratory. However, the first humans created were not Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve came along 200,000 years after the first human and were genetic offspring from a human and Anunnaki. The very first Homo sapien was called Adamu. This is why people get mixed up with Adam and Eve. The term Adamu is often associated with ancient Mesopotamian cultures, particularly in Sumerian texts. In Sumerian, Adamu refers to a type of being created by the god Enki, also known as Ea. These beings were fashioned from clay and infused with the breath of life. It's important to note that the Sumerian concept of Adamu is distinct from the biblical Adam in the book of Genesis. While there are some similarities, such as the creation of a human-like figure from clay, the cultural and religious contexts differ significantly. In Sumerian texts, the Adamu were often created to serve the gods or perform various tasks. One notable example is the creation of the first humans in the poem known as Enki and Ninmah, or Enki and the Making of Man, where Enki, the god of wisdom, and Ninmah, the mother goddess, engage in a competition to create various beings, including humans.
Enclosed and had guards at the gates. It even tells there were guards at the gates in the modern day Bible.
What do you mean?
To keep them in and keep everybody else out.
I believe he's now talking about the Garden of Eden. I think he's assumed the lab and the garden are the same place. I'll explain why they are not later.
So they would put humans in a garden as if it was a laboratory to watch them grow like fruit?
They would give them times that they could mate and times that they couldn't mate. This is all written in text. They were treated like animals. When they created Adam, they created what they had hoped to be a version of a human that can replicate easily. So after they created him, they then tried to mate him with one of the existing hominids that they had modified, but it was more like a clone, and it still wasn't able to reproduce.
I've not seen any ancient texts where they said that. The logic that you've just created a smarter creature to do the work for you, then you let it breed with the dumber creatures, that doesn't make sense at all.
Obviously, I go on and prove that what he said was illogical. So yeah, so if you're interested in learning more on any of these subjects, my Patreon page is amazing. It's got audio books on there and everything. So it's patreon.com/OurTrueHistory, and there's over 120 videos there, documentaries, long ones. So hopefully you'll enjoy them.
I'm sure that many of you know that the name of the God of Israel is Yahweh.
So it's a bit of a come down, isn't it, from creating the universe and even the planet, that people worship you on, to being called just the God of Israel. I mean, you might as well be called the God of New York or the God of something else. Now, it does say that Yahweh was to do with the Hebrews and the Israelites, and therefore obviously that's their version that you're reading in the Bible, which makes sense, because if he was Babylonian and Babylonian people wrote about it, then that would be to do with Marduk, who was the god of Babylonia. But of course, it's whoever wrote the Bible is what they're talking about. Now, we know that the Anunnaki called themselves gods, and they had many gods and goddesses, which was basically the race name for the Anunnaki that came here, and they're the ones that created us in their images, plural, Genesis 1:26. So I'm suggesting that the God of Israel was Enlil. This person's replying to a post I said where the Bible is a copy of older texts. That's a fact. And this person's basically saying that because I'm talking about it on TikTok, therefore it can't be a fact, and that the Bible is more correct than me or these ancient texts. So what she's really saying is that 2 million tablets that predate the Bible, that talk about the Bible, and that's just Sumerian, let alone the Akkadian, Babylonian, Syrian, etc. And then the carvings and the temples that they built for the same characters that's in the Bible that predate the Bible. This person would rather go by the Bible than someone telling her that there's older texts. So in other words, this person's not bothered to look at the older texts to see, because someone like me on TikTok is telling her that there's older texts. Now, if she spoke to any religious person, they would tell her, yes, the Bible is a copy of older texts. That's a fact. Yes, here's another one. This person basically said that I'm wrong, and I said no problem at all, tell me where I'm wrong, what videos got the wrong evidence. And basically the person said he hasn't watched any of my videos. So I said, so how can I be wrong? And then he started waffling on about Satan and that he's found the light and all this kind of stuff. And I thought I'd do a video just to point out that if he actually reads the Young's literal translation, not the changed versions of the Bible, you'll find that Satan was actually not a word, it was actually just an adversary. Obviously this person hasn't bothered doing that kind of research. So, because he doesn't even know the simple fact that Satan wasn't even a real word, wasn't a character, until way later on when people started to give a name to the adversary and a backstory, this person's sadly mistaken. So, yeah, what a shame. This is the same person from the last video saying that Noah's Ark, even though I've showed evidence that Noah's Ark was actually made out of wood. We've got the original tablets in the British Museum, so this person's clearly wrong. But I'm asking this person to show me evidence that it was a...
Polaris stays in the exact same spot in our night sky, and during the day we just...
Have you ever been in a car or a plane when you're looking at the moon, and the moon doesn't move? The moon just stays exactly where it is. And the same principle applies for something further away. The further away it is, the less it looks like it's moving. Now, out of all the visible stars that we can see, is it not conceivable that one actually has an orbit in its own solar system that actually makes it appear that it's staying still, even though obviously as far away as it is moving? But for us, we can't see that. Same principle with the moon. It looks like the moon is staying dead still, but actually over a few minutes it's not. It's moved and we've moved, but it looks like it's staying in the same position. So is it not possible that one star has the same, not the same orbit, but an orbit that gives the appearance that it's staying where it is?
Oh, can't you see the truth is in front of your eyes? Our true history, rattling life's sweetest lies. Oh yeah, digging deep, discovering secrets untold, unearthing mysteries, making the past unfold. Our true history, the one that I want you to know. Unraveling the truth is time to let it show. With every finding we'll break it down the walls. Our true history, the greatest researcher of them all. The truth will never be lost. Uncover the past, no matter the cost.
I've been chatting to this person who believes in an almighty being, and I've said, would you like to see the evidence that the almighty being is actually the Anunnaki with evidence? And of course that person's refused it. So this person's saying, if you're gods, which is plural because they were the Anunnaki, we've got the evidence. I can show anyone the evidence. I have showed the evidence, and not one person said the evidence is wrong. That's probably why this person doesn't want to see the evidence, because he knows that Anyway, if your gods, in other words the Anunnaki, exist, why aren't we seeing wars in the universe? So this person is expecting Star Wars, expecting that an advanced race has to have a fight, and not only have a fight close enough to us so that we see. So the logic there isn't quite there, I'm afraid. Sorry.
Chapter 9. Telekinesis and AMP telepathy. Telekinesis, often portrayed in popular culture as the ability to move or manipulate objects with the mind alone, has fascinated humans for centuries. Stemming from the Greek words tele, meaning distant, and kinesis, meaning motion. Telekinesis implies a form of psychokinesis where the mind influences physical matter or events. Despite its prevalence in movies, books, and folklore, scientific evidence supporting telekinesis is sparse. Parapsychologists, researchers who study paranormal phenomena, have conducted experiments attempting to demonstrate telekinetic abilities, but results have often been inconclusive or subject to criticism. One of the challenges in studying telekinesis lies in its unpredictable and subjective nature. Unlike other scientific phenomena, telekinesis, if it exists, seems to occur sporadically and inconsistently, making it difficult to study under controlled conditions. In popular culture, telekinesis has been a popular theme in science fiction and fantasy. Iconic characters like Carrie White from Stephen King's novel Carrie and Jean Grey from Marvel Comics' X-Men series possess telekinetic abilities. These portrayals often depict individuals moving objects, altering the physical environment, or even exhibiting immense power by controlling external forces. As research and understanding of the human brain progress, the mystery surrounding telekinesis may one day be unraveled, but for now, it remains a captivating enigma in the realm of human potential and the unexplained. I'm going to mention Uri Geller. I know people believe he's been debunked, but wait till you read all of this, then make your mind up, because you know I'll be showing you that the debunkers are not always correct. Uri Geller, born on the 20th of December 1946, is an Israeli-British entertainer renowned for his skills in illusion, magic, and television presentations. He identifies himself as a psychic and is particularly famous for his televised acts featuring spoon bending and other illusions. Over his extensive career, spanning more than 4 decades, he has appeared on numerous television shows and stages across various countries. Despite his popularity, some magicians have labeled Geller a fraud, casting doubts on his claims of possessing genuine psychic abilities. However, let's look at Uri's early life. In 1973, a study conducted by the CIA reported that Uri Geller had demonstrated his paranormal abilities in a convincing and unmistakable manner. Declassified CIA documents revealed that the U.S. Stanford Research Institute had conducted secret tests on Geller's psychic skills for 8 days as part of the agency's Stargate program, which aimed to investigate psychic powers and their potential military applications. During these tests, scientists employed various image and word exercises. A random word, such as fuse, was chosen from the dictionary, and a scientist drew a corresponding image like a firecracker. This drawing was then placed outside a sealed room where Geller, relying solely on his paranormal abilities, replicated the same image. Geller expressed his validation when the classified documents were made public, stating that he had undertaken several tasks for the CIA, including erasing floppy disks flown out by Russian agents and influencing individuals to sign important documents. However, critics of the CIA's Stargate experiment raised concerns about the methodology and accuracy of the research. They pointed out discrepancies and a lack of consensus among the viewers' reports, leading to skepticism regarding the results. You can see Geller's name on the CIA website. Telekinesis document type: Crest Collection, Stargate, https://www.cia.gov/readingroom/document/NSA. RDP 96X00790R0001000400121. The Stargate program, despite its